from Iran to Turkey and other parts of West Asia. Now, Turkey is one of Israel's strongest critics in the region. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is saying that after Gaza and Lebanon, Turkey is next and Israel is planning to attack in Turkey. Now, the Turkish parliament has been carrying on closed-door sessions about the war in West Asia. Listen in.
B18. Turkey's Erdogan calls for Islamic alliance against Israel. Brace yourselves for a discussion that will shake your beliefs to the core. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has made headlines once again, this time not for domestic reforms or economic strategy, but for a radical and incendiary call to the Muslim world form an Islamic alliance against Israel. So he didn't mince words. Erdogan, a man known for his bold and controversial stances, has now aimed at Israel, accusing the nation of rampant expansionism and terrorism. If you think this is just another speech meant to stir the political pot, you're in for a rude awakening. The stakes are higher than ever, and the implications of this call to action could ignite more than just diplomatic discussion. Stay with us till the end as we unpack this shocking statement and its ripple effects across the Middle East and the world. Hello and welcome to today's discussion. We're diving deep into one of the most provocative political moves we've seen in recent months. Turkey's President Erdogan is no stranger to controversy, but his latest call for an Islamic alliance against Israel is stirring up tensions like never before. Let's break it all down. Why now, what it means, and how the world is reacting. Erdogan's call for unity, or is it war? On Saturday, President Erdogan shocked the international community by urging Islamic nations to ally against what he deems the growing threat of expansionism from Israel. This wasn't a vague diplomatic hint, it was a full-blown accusation pointing fingers at Israel for arrogance, banditry, and state terrorism. But what prompted this declaration? It came right after reports of Israeli soldiers allegedly killing a Turkish-American woman who was protesting against the expansion in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. Palestinian and Turkish officials are calling this a blatant example of Israeli aggression, and Erdogan wasted no time using it as a rallying cry for his Islamic alliance. He didn't stop there. He went further to declare that this so-called expansionism threatens not just Palestine, but also neighboring countries like Lebanon and Syria. It's no secret that tensions have been boiling over in these regions, with the Gaza war acting as a flashpoint for broader conflict. Turkish diplomacy in the spotlight. What's fascinating here is how Erdogan has been strategically mending fences with regional powerhouses, including Egypt and Syria. You might remember that Turkey's relations with Egypt were frozen for over a decade. However, just this past week, Erdogan hosted Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in Ankara. This meeting was a monumental first since 2011, when ties between the two nations broke down over the Syrian civil war and Egypt's political upheaval.
One of the strongest critics of Israeli operations in Gaza, Turkey's President rhetoric against Israel at his party's first meeting of the new legislative year. Tayyip Erdogan said Tel Aviv's purpose of pursuing a delusioned promised land will only face disappointment and defeat. He doubled down, saying after Gaza and Lebanon, Israel will target Turkey.
The Israeli administration, which is acting with the delirium of promised lands, will set its sight on the soil of our homeland with a complete religious fanaticism after Palestine and Lebanon. I am saying this clearly. Right now, this is what the whole plan is about.
Even as Erdogan spoke, Turkish Navy ships docked in Beirut to bring humanitarian aid to Lebanon and evacuate Turkish citizens. Amid the escalating Israeli attacks, Turkey has evacuated nearly 1,000 people from Lebanon. Turkish parliament also discussed the spread of war in West Asia at a closed-door session. But the Turkish opposition feels Erdogan is using security to deflect public attention from Turkey's economic problems.
Devletin başındaki Cumhurbaşkanı.
If the president leading the state is showing the reflexes of a party leader while he has his president hat on, and if he says in relation to security concerns, "You are hungry, you are poor, you are unemployed, but you need to stand by me. The danger is big, Israel will attack," then it's a different issue. That's why we said, come tell us during the closed session, convince us and we will do what's necessary.
Why the sudden thaw? Erdogan himself has said that these renewed alliances are part of a grand strategy to create a united front against Israeli expansion. The question is, can this work? Is Erdogan trying to form a military alliance, or is this just posturing? Let's not forget that Erdogan has also extended an olive branch to Syria's Bashar al-Assad. After years of bitter conflict, Turkey is ready to invite Assad for possible talks aimed at restoring relations. Is this simply a pragmatic move in the face of mutual threats? Or is Erdogan positioning himself as the leader of a larger anti-Israel coalition? Erdogan's broader ambitions. So many see Erdogan's latest remarks as an attempt to reposition Turkey as the leader of the Islamic world. He's framing himself as the only leader bold enough to stand up to what he calls Israeli arrogance and terrorism. But here's the twist: Turkey's domestic issues, from economic struggles to political instability, make this a risky move. There's also a delicate balancing act Turkey is trying to maintain with the West, especially as a member of NATO. While Turkey's relationship with Israel has always been strained, Erdogan's latest rhetoric could push these ties to a breaking point. And let's not forget that the United States, a long-standing ally of Israel, is watching all of this unfold. So will Erdogan's call for an Islamic alliance draw Turkey closer to its neighbors, or will it isolate the country even more on the global stage? How is Israel responding? So far, Israel has remained silent on Erdogan's remarks. While Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has not issued an official statement, the Israeli military is reportedly looking into the incident involving the Turkish-American protester. So this silence could be tactical, or it could signal that Israel is waiting to see how other global powers react before making any bold moves. It's the fact that Erdogan's remarks come amid a heightened sense of tension in the Middle East, especially after Israeli Defense Forces IDF raids in Lebanon adds fuel to the fire. Just days before, a NATO nation publicly urged the UN to take forceful action against Israel. It's no coincidence that Erdogan's call for an alliance follows this outcry.
Turkey halted all trade with Israel in May, and in August, Ankara filed a request with a UN court to join South Africa's lawsuit accusing Israel of genocide in Gaza. Erdogan has further called for Israel to be punished in international courts, while criticizing Western nations for backing Israel. He has even compared Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to Adolf Hitler. The two countries had normalized ties in 2022 after years of tensions, but they quickly deteriorated after the war broke out.
So in a new Cold War in the Middle East, could Erdogan's bold declaration be the start of a new Cold War in the Middle East, pitting Islamic nations against Israel and its Western allies? If Turkey, Egypt, Syria, and perhaps even Saudi Arabia were to form a united front, the region could witness a seismic shift in power dynamics. However, the reality is that such an alliance might be fraught with internal contradictions. Egypt and Saudi Arabia have long maintained a cautious approach toward Israel, favoring diplomacy over confrontation. But Erdogan seems to be playing the long game, banking on regional discontent over Israel's policies to forge a united opposition. The question is, will this alliance take form, or will it collapse under the weight of its ambition? The unanswered questions. What happens next is anyone's guess. Will Erdogan's words translate into action? Will Islamic nations heed his call and stand against Israel? Or is this just a political maneuver to bolster his domestic image ahead of elections? So one thing is certain, this is not a situation to ignore. It has the potential to drastically alter the geopolitical landscape in the Middle East and beyond. So what do you think? Is Erdogan's call for an Islamic alliance against Israel a masterstroke of diplomacy, or a plus gamble that could lead to more instability in the Middle East? Regardless of where you stand, it's clear that Erdogan is ready to shake things up, and the consequences could be far-reaching. If you've made it this far, you've probably got a lot on your mind. Stay tuned for more updates on this unfolding situation, and be sure to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and hit that subscribe button. Stay informed about latest geopolitical developments. We've got much more to unpack in the coming weeks. Stay with us.